So I asked you to do the odd numbers. Hopefully everyone got the handout. Thank you, Christina. And let's go. So, like, for questions 1 through 8, give English words or phrase, given the English word or phrase, identify the correct operation. So you want to, hang on a second. You want to identify what operation each of these words indicate. So if we're only doing the odds, you could have, actually, for this section, you could have done it all because it's very simple. So 1, sum, obviously, reminds us, or it's addition. 3 is multiplication. 5 is more than, so addition again. Increase by is addition again. I'll just do the other one. Obviously, division, divided by is division. Times is multiplication. Less than is subtraction. But that's a turnaround word. Okay, just keep that in mind. And difference is also subtraction. So even though I only said to do the odds, I kind of did it all. And then from here, we'll do the odds. So it shouldn't be too many problems. Not at all. So we're going to take 9. And again, a lot of this is just review. All right, so to get you ready to translate the longer sentences into equations. So 3 less than a number, literally translated. 3 is 3, less than is subtraction, and the number is n. But because the word is a less than, we have to change the order, and it becomes n minus 3. 11, 8 times a number, so that's easy. 8 times a number. 8 times n, or just even better, 8n. 13, a number subtract 6. A number subtract 6. 15, 9 subtracted from a number. So again, subtracted from a number, it's different than just subtract, okay? So 9 subtracted from a number, if you were to write this right under it, 9 is 9, subtracted from is subtraction, and a number, n or x, or whatever other variable you choose. But we have to switch the order, and that would eventually become n minus 9. 17, the product of 12 and a number. It's 12 times n, or 12n. Okay. 19, 7 less than the number. Again, be careful with this. 7 less than a subtraction, a number, but that would switch around and become n minus 7. Okay. Let's continue. So 23 or 21, half a number. So how do you write half of a number? You can have, here's my number, and half of it would be divided by 2. Less 3. Less is not a turnaround, so this stays as it is. Okay. 23, a number less 10 is doubled. So a number less 10 is doubled. So we got to double this expression here. So I'm going to take that, put it in parentheses, and multiply by 2. So we're going to multiply a number that is subtracted. Okay, subtract 10. So a number minus 10 is then doubled. So we first have to figure out what that is, and then multiply by 2. 1/3 of a number times 2. So 1/3, you can write 1/3 like this over n times 2, which if you end up multiplying, can you put this over 1? Let's multiply the numerators. 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 1 is 3, and the n, so it becomes 2/3 of a number. Okay. 27, the sum of a number and 8 subtracted from 30. So the sum of a number and 8. So I got to add 2 things, a number and 8. So this is one thing. And then subtract it. So the sum of a number and 8 subtracted comes here from 30. Now I got to put this in parentheses because we're adding those two, right? And because the word is subtracted from, we got to switch the order. So that's going to become 30 minus parentheses n plus 8. Okay, so that's literally the expression. So 29, so 28, 29, 30, although you only have to do 29, I will do all 3 of them. So for questions 28 through 30, let x equal the distance traveled by Nick. So Nick traveled a distance. So Nick over here, he traveled a distance, 10 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles, whatever. But we just going to call it x miles. And then based on that, I'm going to write the other three comparisons. So Annie drove 7 miles less than traveled by Nick. So Annie, okay, so Annie drove 7 miles less than Nick. So it'd be whatever Nick drove, which we know it's X, and then we're going to subtract 7, and that should give us what Annie drove. Wayne traveled 8 miles more further than Nick. So to find out how many miles Wayne drove, we would take whatever Nick drove and simply add 8. And that would give us Wayne. And then Carl swam 7/8 of the distance traveled by Nick. So Carl 7/8 of, remember what of means? Multiplication, multiplied by X, 7/8 of whatever Nick traveled, which again is represented by that variable. Okay, so that's what you should have done in that section. 31. So 31 I will draw, and I hope you are also drawing because it comes in very handy. Let me just make this bigger. Yes. The perimeter of a square patio, so you have a square. Okay, it's 48 feet. What are the dimensions of the patio? Well, if it's a square, I know that, let's call this n. This will also be n, whatever n represents. This will also be n. This will also be n. Right, so if I'm, again, the objective here, translate this, right? So I want to, I know that if I go n plus n plus n plus n, it's going to give us 48. So another way of writing that would have been much easier, to just write 4 times n, or 4n equals 48. So that would have been my equation to set up. Divide both sides by 4, and n equals 12. 33, the length of a rectangle. So again, this is a rectangle. So draw yourself a rectangle. And you know we have a width and a length on the rectangle. So it says the length of a rectangle is 1 yard more than twice the width. So let me call this W. So I can call this L for length, but I'm not going to call it L. I'm going to call it in the way to describe it. So the length is actually 1 more is addition, and twice the width, and twice means 2 times W. So whatever W is, to find L, I'm going to add 1 and then multiply, add it to the product of 2 times W. So this is going to be also 1 plus 2W. What is the length and the width? Well, so now I have all my sides represented. I can write an equation, so I can, and again, I'm just going to write this the long way. So I have 2 width, right? Width plus width, or 2W. I have this side and this side. I'm going to add the other side on the top, which is 1 plus 2W. And the side at the bottom, which is 1 plus 2W. So this is a really long way of writing it. And that should give me 218 yards. Anyone who did this in the shorter way, you actually did W, and W is 2W. Or you could have written 2 times 1 plus 2W. Right, because you're multiplying the length by 2 because there's 2 of them. So whichever way you started or represented this is fine. When we solve, that's 2W. I'm going to use the distributive property. 2 times 1 is 2. And then plus and plus is addition, positives, and 2 times 2W is 4W equals 218. I am going to combine like terms. 2W and 4W is 6W, plus 2 equals 218, minus 2 on this side, minus 2 on that side. This goes adios, 6W equals 216. I can divide this by 6, and my W is, I have no idea, so 216 divided by 6. It's going to be 3, 18, 3, 6, 36. So my width is going to be 36. If I go back to the picture, I know this is 36. I know that this guy is 36. And my length, to find my length, I got to do 1 plus 2W. So it's going to be 1 plus 2 times 36. Order of operation tells me I got to multiply these two. So it's going to be 1 plus, and 2 times 36 is 72. And if I finally add them, I know that my length is 73. So if this is 73, the guy on the top here, the length on the top is also 73. You can double check. So if I add all my sides now, which I know the dimensions, it should give me 218. So take a second, 73 plus 36 plus 36, and see if that equals 218. So let me add this on the side here. 6 and 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18, carry the 1. 7, 14, 15, 15 and 6 is 218. Look at that. It is 218. And we're moving, I think, to the last page, 35. And again, I want you to draw, we are talking about a triangle. So the perimeter of this triangle is 35, so P equals 35, which means if I add this side, plus this side, plus this side, equals 35. So the length of the third side is twice the length of the first side. The length of the second side is half the length of the first side. So let me call, so I have three sides. So let me call this first side, the second side, and the third side. Right? I gotta identify my sides. The length of the third side is twice the length of the first side, and the length of the second side is half the length. So they're all being compared to the first side, right? So let's call the first side x. Let's go back to the other description. So the length of the third side is twice the length of the first side. So if the first side is x, the third side has to be 2 times x, twice the value of the first side. And the length of the second side is half the length of the first. Sorry, the length of the second side is half the length of the first side. So the second side is whatever the first side is divided by 2. So in this picture, I'm going to label this as x. This is going to be x divided by 2, and this is going to be 2 times whatever x is. Those are the length of my triangle I represented by a variable. Now, I can take that information and I can do this. X plus x over 2 plus 2x equals, and that should all equal 35. If I combine this, okay, I can go x, this is, so instead of half of x, I'm going to write this x plus 0.5x, because I don't want to deal with decimals, plus 2x equals 35. So imagine, don't forget there's an imaginary 1 over here, so let's add coefficients. 1 plus 0.5 is 1.5, and 1.5 plus 2 is 3.5. So 1x plus 0.5x plus 2x equals 3.5x, which is going to equal 35 on the side. I am now going to divide this by 3.5 and divide this by 3.5, and x is going to equal 10. So once I know the value of x, I can come back here and I can write that this x equals 10. This one is going to be 10 divided by 2, which equals 5. And the last one is going to be 2 times 10, which is going to be 20. So x equals 10, this side is 10, this side equals 5, and this side equals 20. If you add them all up, it should equal 35. 20 plus 10 is 30, 30 plus 5 is 35, so I know I'm good. 37. I think 37, 39 are the last ones. So 37, it's the town of, it's a triangular shape and has a perimeter of 104 kilometers. So it's a town. The interstates border the southern part of town, but town residents want to build 2 more roads, one each side of town. The length of one side of the town is half the length of the interstate. The length of the other side, 2/3 of the interstate. Determine the length of the road necessary to complete the town's task. That is, determine the length of each of the 2 sides of the town, not by the hint or drop picture. I am drawing a picture. What the heck? Hang on a second. Mathville? Shoo. It's triangular shape and has a perimeter of 104. Okay, I'm okay with that. The interstate borders the southern part of town, but town residents want to build 2 more roads, one on each side of town. So I'm assuming these are the 2 roads they want to build. Okay, so this is the interstate here. And the 2 new roads that they're going to build are this one and this one. Okay. The length of one side of the town is half the length of the interstate. And the length of the other side of is 2/3 the length of the interstate. So the interstate here is this red line here, right? So, and both of the other sides are being compared to the interstate. So I'm going to write interstate, right? And then I'm going to write road 1 and road 2. So I'm going to write underneath that this is the interstate. And this is road 1 that they want to build, and this is road 2 that they want to build. So the interstate is the one that it's being compared to, so let's call that x, and then let's write the other 2 in terms of that. So road 1, the length of one side of the town is half the length of the interstate. So road 1 is half. So whatever the interstate is, it's going to be half of that. And road 2, the length of the other side right here, is 2/3 of the length of the interstate. So it's going to be 2/3 of x, or times x. So if I were to label this, this is x over 2, and this is 2/3 x. So those are my 3 roads. So this is the interstate, so this side is half of whatever x is, and this side apparently is 2/3 of x. Not quite the same, but a little bit closer. So I know that the perimeter, so if I add this road plus this road plus this road, it gives me 104. So let's add this up. x over 2 plus 2/3 x plus x equals whatever this is, 104. So one thing you can do here, if you like, is you can clear the fractions. And one way of clearing the fractions is to find the LCM. The LCM of the denominators. And if you look at all the denominators, this is b over 1, this is b over 1. And the LCM is 6. So the LCM of all my denominators is 6. Yeah? So I can multiply this by 6, multiply this by 6, and I multiply this by 6, and I'm going to multiply the last one by 6. If I multiply everything by 6, this and this will cross out, and so 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I'm left with 3x. Plus 6 and 3 here, right? 6 over 3 is 2, right? 6 divided by 3, 2. So 3 divided by 1 is 3, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I get 2 on top, and I multiply by the 2 that's already there, and 2 times 2 is 4x. Last one is easy. It's just 6 times x, which is 6x. And 6 times 104 is going to be 624. No more fractions. I can easily add this up, combine the like terms. 4 and 3 is 7, plus 6 is 13x. And I'm going to divide that by 624. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to divide both sides by 13. And x equals, I have no idea. Why don't I figure this out? 624 divided by 13 equals 48. So x equals 48. If x equals 48, I can go back to my picture, and I know that the interstate here, that measures 48. This first row would be x divided by 2, or 48 divided by 2, which is the same thing as 24. So row 1 is 24 kilometers. Row 2 is 2/3 of 48, so if I substitute, I get 2/3 of 48. So 2/3 of 48 eventually becomes 36. All right, 3 times 16, no, 32, sorry. Becomes 32. Okay, 16, yeah, becomes 32. So there are the measurements of all my roads. 39, it's a trapezoid, so they already drew one for us. The perimeter of the trapezoid is 14 inches, so if I add all these sides, I get 14. The length of the left side and right side are the same. Good, so this and this are the same. The length of the bottom is twice the length of a side, and the length of the top is one length than the length of the side. So you notice that they're comparing everything to the side. So let's call it the sides A. This measures A, this measures A. Right? So they're both the same. So let's go back to this. The length of the bottom, this bottom, is twice. Twice means 2 times this, 2 times the side, which is represented by A. And the length of the top is 1 inch, 1 inch less than the length of the side, 1 minus A. And because it's less than, I'm going to write A minus 1. So let me write A minus 1 on top. Now, it's very easy. Now I just add them all up because I know it says the perimeter equals 14. So I'm going to go 2A, which is this, plus A, which is this side and this side, and then finally plus A minus 1 equals 14. 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, combine like terms, right? That's easy enough. Minus 1 equals 14. If you like to do a little story, I have a variable A, which is being multiplied by 5. Subtract 1 equals 14. Going backwards, I'm going to do plus 1 and divide by 5. So that's the work you have to show. So the first thing you're asked to do is add 1 to both sides. I need to separate this, add 1 to both sides. This one goes by, 5A comes down. 14 plus 1 is 15. And then I'm asked to divide both sides by 5. Take that, divide by 5. Take that, divide by 5. This becomes 1, and A equals 3. So I go back to the picture. If A equals 3, which means this side is 3. This side is 3. 2A, which means 2 times 3, and 2 times, I'm going to substitute, and 2 times 3 is 6. So the bottom part is 6. And the top one is A minus 1, or 3 minus 1, which gives me 2. So let's see if we're right. If we add all these lengths, it should give me 14. So I have a 6 plus 3 on the other side, and plus 2 on the top. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12, and 12 plus 2 is 14. Look at that. We're correct. The rest you don't have to do, not today at least. And I didn't assign. You don't have the other page. So 39 skipping is the last problem you have to do. Okay. So that's it.